Hey everyone, welcome back to Hoopers Nation, your top destination for NBA basketball content. The Phoenix Suns have had a very successful calendar year that goes back to the league resuming the 2019-2020 regular season inside the NBA bubble. They shocked the world when they went undefeated at Disney World but still missed the 2020 playoffs. After such an impressive run, Phoenix's front office knew what they had to do, and so they traded for star point guard Chris Paul and added some experienced veterans in the offseason. Up to this point, the Suns have had a very successful regular season, but with many people still questioning whether this team can contend with the powerhouses of the Western Conference. In this video, we'll take a look at the Phoenix Suns and why everybody should take them seriously. But before we do, please make sure to leave a like on this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on Hoopers Nation post notifications for more NBA content. The Suns' turnaround from a poverty franchise to a perennial championship contender was a quiet, almost unnoticeable process. Just 2 years ago, nobody would have thought that the Suns were really that close to becoming one of the best teams in the NBA. The perception about them was always, yeah, they have a great young core and a budding star player in Devin Booker, and that was it. There were always questions about the team's competitiveness on the court, but perhaps even more so off the court. For starters, the Suns have one of the most controversial owners in the NBA in Robert Sarver. He bought the team from Jerry Colangelo in 2004 and quickly built a title contender by keeping Jerry's son, Brian Colangelo, as general manager and maneuvering some trades that turned the team into a title contender with two-time MVP Steve Nash and head coach Mike D'Antoni. But in 2010, things took a turn to the wrong side, as Colangelo left the team and traded Amari Stoudemire to the New York Knicks. Since then, the team has missed the playoffs, an 11-year drought that will finally come to an end this year in the 2021 playoffs. Sarver had already drawn enough heat from fans for not attempting to improve the team or spend into the luxury tax to be competitive, but the Suns owner became object of endless hate when he reportedly threatened to relocate the team to Las Vegas or Seattle if the Phoenix City Council didn't approve a budget of approximately $230 million to renovate Talking Stick Resort Arena, the Suns' home. The citizens believed it was ridiculous to spend millions of their tax money on renovating an arena that at the same time was heavily struggling with attendance, even with tickets as cheap as $8. And that was used for profit by an ultra-rich egomaniac. Also, Sarver's decision to fire general manager Ryan McDonough in October 2018 was heavily scrutinized and criticized. While it was clear the team needed new front office leadership and many people actually agreed with moving on from McDonough, Sarver decided to fire him right after the former GM had signed new head coach Igor Kokoshkov and drafted Deandre Ayton with the #1 overall pick. If Sarver really wanted to move on from McDonough, why did he wait until the former GM made 2 franchise-altering decisions? And as if that wasn't weird enough, Sarver then decided to replace McDonough with 14-year NBA veteran forward James Jones. Now, sure, this wasn't the first time, nor will it be the last time a team hires a former player to an executive position. But when your franchise is stuck in the middle of a near-decade-long drought of misery and losing, you'd likely be better off looking for a more experienced front office leader. Things didn't look any brighter when Jones started making very questionable moves in his first offseason as general manager, trading TJ Warren, an efficient two-way 20 points per game scorer, to the Indiana Pacers for cash considerations, and firing Coach Kokoshkov after only a season on the job. Other moves, which were also viewed as questionable at the time, included signing Ricky Rubio to a 3-year, $51 million deal in free agency, and trading down from the 6th spot in the 2019 NBA draft to be the 11th pick, which turned into Cameron Johnson and brought along Dario Saric on the trade as well. But these moves have surprisingly turned into significant parts of the Suns' rise to contendership in the Western Conference. Now, has Jones been perfect? Of course not. Imagine if the Suns still had bubble TJ Warren today, and not the cash considerations they got back for him. But Jones hasn't been as bad as many rookie GMs usually are. And as we said, some of the moves that were initially questioned have helped put the Suns in the position they're in today. Jones also orchestrated arguably the biggest, most impactful trade of this past offseason in the entire NBA when he brought Chris Paul to the desert of Arizona. This gave the team a new big three that had the perfect mix of legendary leadership and playmaking from Paul, all-around scoring from Devin Booker, and huge two-way upside on the paint with DeAndre Ayton. And all the Suns really had to give up was Kelly Oubre, Ricky Rubio, and a single protected first-round pick. Jones then acquired Jay Crowder, E'Twaun Moore, and Langston Galloway via free agency to improve the supporting cast around their core. Today, the Suns are really good to say the least, and are in prime position to contend for a title in the Western Conference. And even though it may sound really easy, building a genuine title contender in the NBA is hard. It's actually never been harder than it is today. There's a lot of talent around the league, but there's an art to making every piece of the puzzle fit seamlessly, and that's exactly what the revamped Phoenix Suns have done under head coach Monty Williams. And it all starts with the veteran leadership of Chris Paul. Not only is he one of the brightest basketball minds alive, which makes him an excellent addition just from a locker room standpoint, but the guy can still produce at an elite level on the court. We talk so much about LeBron James defying father time and being so impressive at age 36. Well, what about CP3? He's really close to turning 36 himself, and it's amazing to see how impactful of a player he remains despite being an undersized, unathletic guard. This season, he's averaging 16 points, 4.7 rebounds, 8.5 assists, and 1.4 steals while shooting 48.1% from the field, 36.4% from beyond the three-point arc, and 94.1% from the free throw line. These may seem like modest stats, but Paul's impact goes way beyond the basic box score numbers. For starters, teammate Devin Booker was long overdue a primary ball handler to help ease the burden off his back. Now, the Suns did try this a season ago when they acquired Ricky Rubio, an experiment that saw limited success as reflected by the team's improved record compared to a season prior. The problem was Rubio's scoring skills, while improved, come and go and are as inconsistent as it gets. Therefore, his playmaking impact was and will always be capped by whether he can make the defense pay by scoring when they close his passing options. And that's exactly what Chris Paul does. CP3 deserves a lot of credit for sticking to a game plan that allows him to be an efficient scorer this deep into his career. And despite being an undersized 6-footer, CP3 ranks bottom 10 among players with at least 500 minutes played on percentage of shots at the rim, with only 9% of his field goals being within 3 feet, which is also the lowest among point guards. Instead, he attempts a league-high 62% of his shots from the mid-range area. It doesn't make sense for him to be fighting the Giants wandering inside the paint when he can punish them from a bit farther away from the basket. Paul is still one of the most lethal mid-range shooters in the league, ranking 4th in the NBA on 52% shooting from the mid-range area among players with at least 200 attempts. Only Kyrie, Irving, Nikola Jokic, and yes, Richaun Holmes have hit them at a higher clip on such volume. He has a combination of sleek floaters and pull-up middies that he uses to punish a league that barely takes those type of shots nowadays. But why not take them if you're the best at them? One final note from Paul, his usually high usage game has meshed really well with Devin Booker because of how much they share ball handling duties. Paul is still the primary point guard and offense initiator, but sharing the responsibility with Booker gives their offense a new layer of dangerousness. Still, CP3 is distributing the ball a ton considering his usage percentage overall has decreased. His 1.4 assist to usage ratio ranks 5th in the league. This is just possession optimization at its finest, as Paul's doing more despite using less possessions than he's used to. On the other side, Devin Booker has his second highest usage percentage of his 6-year career this season at 33%, despite playing alongside Paul. He's making the most out of his possessions too, ranking 93rd percentile among wings with a 22.1 assist percentage and bringing his turnover average to the lowest it's been since his sophomore season. Overall, Book holds averages of 25.1 points, 4.1 rebounds, and 4.6 assists on 49% shooting on field goals and 35.1% shooting from 3. And the results from playing alongside Paul are evident. Even though Booker has only shot the 3-ball above league average rates twice in his career, he's never been more accurate on catch-and-shoot looks during this season with a 41% rate. And probably the most underrated aspect of Booker's season, he's averaging his lowest minutes per game since his rookie season. The Suns are dominating opponents more often and in quicker fashion, which has allowed D-Book's minutes to be cut, even if minimally. These saved minutes will become very helpful in Booker's postseason debut, where we'll get a chance to see how he performs in a more hostile 7-game series environment. This will also mark the playoff debut of the #1 pick in the 2018 draft, Deandre Ayton. Once the Chris Paul trade was completed, it was believed Ayton would be the Chris Bosh of this big three, the one who would have to sacrifice the most. And at first sight, that may seem to be the case. Ayton is averaging career lows in scoring, 14.8 points, assists with 1.5, and usage rate at 17.2%. But a deeper look into more advanced numbers will actually tell the opposite story. Ayton has never been more efficient, scoring 1.3 points per shot attempt, which is quite a lot considering he takes mostly 2s. He's also shooting a career-high 61% from the field and making 75% of his shots at the rim, a mark that's 85th percentile among big men and 12th overall in the entire NBA among players with at least 500 minutes played and 100 rim field goals. Another key developing aspect of Ayton's game as a big is the pick-and-roll action. Plays with Ayton as the roll man are yielding 1.33 points per possession, a mark that ranks 4th in the entire NBA among players with at least 2 P&R plays per game. The ridiculous efficiency is exciting, and not that surprising when you consider Chris Paul is the maestro ball handler in most of these plays. Though Ayton may still need some additional volume to be considered among the very best, still, it's great to see him adapting and doing great in his 3rd pro season. Most of the supporting cast players will remain unsung heroes, but let's give out some quick shoutouts. Young stud Michael Bridges is having a breakout junior season and has fit in seamlessly along the big three in the starting lineup. He's averaging 13.4 points per game and been one of the best three-point shooters among wings, making 42% of his looks and capitalizing on the attention his uber-talented teammates are drawing. On a similar note, Jay Crowder has fit well both as a starter and off the bench. He's yet to fully unleash the deadly two-way three-point shooter he played like in Miami on their run to the finals last season, but he usually turns it up in the playoffs. Cameron Johnson and Dario Saric have provided an extra scoring lift, averaging 10 points per game on solid efficiency. Overall, this Suns team rocks. They have the 3rd highest margin of victory average in the NBA at 6.4 points per game and are obliterating teams. They're generating a lot of offense through ball movement and rank 2nd in the league on team assists at 27 per game. They're also getting the job done on the defensive end, holding opponents to only a 52 effective field goal percentage, another top 5 mark in the league. They're led by a determined leader in Chris Paul and hungry walking bucket in Devin Booker on the court, supported by a very good coach in Monty Williams and a strong supporting cast. The only thing that could ruin this squad is Robert Sarver, or maybe not even him. Nobody should sleep on the Suns because they're dominating quietly and without wreaking too much havoc, and this is the type of team you can't overlook in the playoffs. How far will the Suns make it in the NBA playoffs? Can they hang with the best teams in the West? Make sure to comment your thoughts down below, as well as leaving a like on the video and subscribing to the channel. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.